This nibble originally aired on RSBANDB Update, episode 884, Achievements Past and Present. Enjoy.
I think we've made the point clear on like what we think about this update. I think something that is worth mentioning is what repercussions or what conclusions we can draw from this update coming out in the state that it is.
Yeah, and that's actually a very good point, is that this could have been a huge update, but the idea behind it was great. It's just the execution really seems to have fallen flat.
And I compared this system to Guild Wars 2 system. I compared this to World of Warcraft system of exploration, where like every time you enter a new area, you make some progress towards an achievement, you get some experience, which rewards exploration. And in Guild Wars 2, the main use case is like every day you get like 8 tasks, and if you complete 5, you get a big reward. I mean, imagine that. Imagine that every day everybody gets the same, say, 8 tasks assigned to it. If you complete 5, you get a mystery box.
Yep.
I mean, everybody gets the same activity. So if the activity says, go play Barbarian Assault one game, you get lots of people playing Barbarian Assault.
And that would do even more than the Spotlight system.
It would, and there's so much potential there, and like just the fact that doesn't get the significance assigned to it that it does is problematic, especially given the other big things that are supposed to revive RuneScape are coming out this year, and I'm in particular referring to both Shattered Worlds and Manifolds, of course.
2 very hyped updates that need to succeed.
Yeah, like if this is the level of execution that we see from Jagex, is the competence, is the skill to do the implementation of these, is it even present within Jagex?
I think it is present. I just think it's a problem of that we talked about last week. Too much reliance on the player base to make opinions and guide updates, because we had a survey on this, and we had a video on this, and a Q&A, and everything. We had the whole works, but yet this comes out.
But do you think it's player feedback that made the interface be such a scrambled mess?
Well, I think to a degree, Jagex is tiptoeing around on the interface because, as we talked about before, they would love to do something probably that can be revolutionary, but if they do that, how's that going to feel to the 50% of the population who either like something or don't? So that's one side of the hand, and the other side of it is that you get, I think what you're describing is an incomplete process. I think they have the talent, I just don't think they're doing it right. And the other side that I mentioned. I want to take a pause right there, because that was fairly hard hitting, wasn't it?
It was hard hitting, but it hard hitting on the head of on the nose.
And this was the part that made me realize, yes, we absolutely made the right choice in covering this again this week, because we mentioned Shattered Worlds and Metaphors, the next 2 updates that were supposed to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And those hit flat.
Mm-hmm.
And we know where we went after that with that. So, like you said, very, very, very prescient on that. I'm gonna let this run for the next 4 minutes until we get to the end.
Yeah, I mean, what they need is somebody to go and sit and design this, and then you can collect player feedback. But instead of just incorporating the player feedback into your design, you should see what the root cause for that feedback is.
Yep.
Try and extract why people are saying that, and then finding your own solutions, which may match the players or maybe something completely different, and incorporate those in your solution. Like, it's not a 1-1 thing. Like, player feedback, yes, but sometimes you have to deviate from player feedback because you're the expert. So they need somebody to properly design it. Then they need people to test it without foreknowledge, without knowing how the system works in advance.
Exactly.
So that they can emulate a new player's experience with it. And then they need somebody to sign off. I think what Jagex is missing, because of this really solid release schedule of 1 release every week, I think what they need is some person, some executive person to say, yes, we can ship this. This is of a sufficiently good quality. And I think that's also missing because like there's this hard date where it has to go out.
Yeah. And, another thing on that, I've long called for this and it could be done, but player test server.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I mean, and this really makes me worry because we have a release date for Manifest, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
That's gonna go out whether it's ready or not, and I am not sure if it's gonna be ready. And it's the biggest hyped up thing this year. Like, how many people are waiting for it? How many people are waiting for 120 Slayer to be amazing? How many people are retaining their membership currently because they want to experience Manifest? How many people got premium because of that?
You hit the nail on the head, and that leads to the most disturbing point from this update, is if this can happen with the achievement system, which is, on the core of it, maybe a few new mechanics under the hood, but largely an interface change. If this can go bad, if this can go this bad and not be usable when it comes out, what is the cost to Jagex and the player base if this happens with one of the expansions this year?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something for everyone to chew on and think on. Obviously, we don't want that to happen, but
the position of RuneScape and Jagex is probably sufficiently fragile that these things are going to have a really, really big impact. Like, we already have this weird split in community between old school RuneScape and RS3, which is putting, I think, the community in a more vulnerable position. And these big failures, like, every game can only have so many of them. But, like, especially if you're in a position where user trust is not at its highest, then you have to be really, really careful that you don't do these weird stunts too often, because then you get real trouble.
Yeah. Sorry, continue.
I wanted this to be a good update so badly because I understand the significance of it, and I wanted to trust Jagex on this. I did. I said I trusted them to do right and to make sure this is a good system, and then they failed me. And I don't think I've ever had this big of a hit in Jagex trust as this week.
Yeah. Woo! Woo! That was something, wasn't it?
It was, and how correct was that? Because we actually did get someone, right? We did get someone.
I want to paint a picture of where we went after this update with this. We went to Shattered Worlds after this in May of 2017. Okay? Then we had Menaphos in June. The Magister in July, and then a series of patch weeks, boom, 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 through July and August, that had no substantive content. It was Menaphos, and that's it until September when Invention Batch 2 released. Because on July 7th of that year, and we had to gather everybody around for this big reversal away from the expansions at the time, that spurred the unfinished business train, including things like Invention Batch 2 and such. And looking at the rest of the updates for the year, Invention Batch 2, September. The Lost Grove, end of September. October, some free-to-play improvements and Dimension of the Damned. November, tooltips, combat pets. Winter Weekends announcement. December, Christmas update. This Menaphos update, plus Invention, was effectively the last headline piece of content released in 2017. So yes, we did hit the nail on the head. And in many ways, the reason we're talking about this is that this achievement system was the harbinger of what 2017 was going to look like until things started to turn around a bit in 2018. And even those, we describe those as lightning in a can. Things like the Clue Scroll rework and the player-owned farm and You Are It and the quest, the needle skips. So Oof. Okay, go ahead. We did get someone who would put that stamp on it and ensure content was delivered of quality.
Mm-hmm. And what happened?
It took until 2019 to get him, but we got him eventually.
We got him eventually, and look what it did, right?
Yeah.
Because
haven't had a problem like that since.
And as good as archaeology was, he held it.
Yeah.
He held it to make sure that it was perfect, that it would be received the way that it was. It did not have, like, it was complete. It did not have a bunch of bugs.
Yeah.
Like, it was a complete reset of expectations.
Almost you could say the Great Reset.
Content. Well, this was a reset on the community's expectations for what updates should actually be.
Yeah, and we're talking about Mod Warden, by the way.
Yeah.
And just to show that it didn't even get that much better in 2018, we had updates like Back Criminal Bolts in January, Clue Scroll Overhaul in February. March was Deep Sea Fishing. Okay, that's good. April, Safe Cracking. That was good. May, You Are It. June, the first Elite Dungeon. July, Clan Improvements on the Beach. August, the second Elite Dungeon. September, the Quest Point Shop. October, November, December, relatively low-key following that. So, you can see that they started delivering content, I think, that the players wanted in 2018, but they were already on this path, I think, before Mod Warden got there in 2019. He just they were on the path, he kind of just reaffirmed it and polished it up a bit.
Yeah, no, they were definitely starting to regain the trust of the community. They were starting to put out good updates, but I think what Mod Warden did when he came in was this reassurance that we don't have to make an arbitrary date. We set these dates.
Yeah.
We want quality content first and foremost.
And I think we can talk about this now, but in the preparation for the episode where we had him on, there was actually an internal push to delay the 120 Herblore and farming into the new year.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a release date that was committed to, so they held it, and they actually rushed to get it out at that point in time. So
yeah,
that's an example of meeting those guidelines and keeping that player trust.
Well, it's an example of knowing what you could do it to and what you couldn't, right?
Yeah.
Because that content, while it was, it was good content and it was expansive, I don't remember a lot of bugs coming out with that.
No.
So, it was pretty tight versus a new skill that has to be picture perfect. Like it has to be.
Yeah.
It has to hit hard.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to include that longer clip from the podcast, because we highlighted just how important it was going to be to hit on the quality marks, but it just wasn't there at that time. Manifo, Shattered Worlds, and the rest of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all had a lot of questions at that point in time about where things were going to go. So...
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways, and I don't like doing this, but I view the achievement system as kind of like a petri dish of what the state of the game was at the time, right?
Well, it's kind of like that, but it's also kind of like a time capsule in a way, right? Like it's literally the insect stuck in amber. Like it was this transitional period, but it's only captured with the recordings from the podcast, because if you looked at it now,
right?
You would say, what update were you talking about?
Right. You can find full episodes of RSBANDB Update right here on this YouTube channel. If you found this video useful or just enjoyed it, like and subscribe, or leave a comment.